Hello，大家好，欢迎来到夏季季后赛的首次赛后采访，我是主持人 Reirachuu，然后今天很高兴欢迎台北 J 战队的打野 Hana。Hey guys, it's Reirachuu, and here with me for the first winner interview of the playoffs is J Team's jungler Hana. Hana，你好。
你好，你好。
那首先当然要恭喜台北这一战队以2-1的成绩获得了今天例行赛的第4、5名决战的胜利。那今天的比赛就可以说是打得有点吃力，有点辛苦，尤其是第一局还有第3局。那首先就对于今天这种的成绩，能够说一下你现在的感受吗？So of course, firstly, congratulations on winning today's series 2-1. But looking at the games today, I think game 1 and game 3 especially looked pretty hard fought. They looked like some pretty tough games. So what are your thoughts about today's results?
赢下来当然是很开心啊，不过就是第一场和第三场中间蛮折磨的，毕竟都在发育嘛。我在发育的话，我那只角色其实发不太动，就完全还是看队友的发挥这样子。
So for today, of course, game 1 and game 3, they were pretty hard to play, especially in the middle parts of the game for both those games. Since I am a jungler and there was really nothing else that I could do besides farming, and really in that sort of situation, I was just trying my best to farm and then trying to hope that my teammates would be able to make stuff happen towards the later parts of the game. So the next question I want to ask is, of course, after dropping that game 1, what kind of adjustments did the team make for you to come back so strong in game 2 and game 3 and just turning the whole series around? 那接下来问题就是想问的就是，你们输了第一局之后是怎么调整好心态的呢？
就第一局嘛，我们前面的角色是前面得打出优势，但预示者那一波的时候没有玩好嘛，导致他们就是后期阵容的时候拿到优势，然后就变得很难玩。因为后面对面3个核心嘛，如果我们拖到后面的话，实在很难玩。所以第三局的时候也把就是第一局比较难处理的角色处理掉。
So, in that game 1, the kind of composition that we had was one that would get a early game advantage. But there was that skirmish over at Rift Herald in the early part of the game that we weren't able to play properly, and that because of the mistakes that we made there, it made the rest of the game very hard to play. And also because Boom Esports that game, they had a more late game composition, so it just made the whole game very difficult. In game 3, the way that we turned that around was we just got rid of those champions in picks and bans. We were like, we're not going to deal with them. And that was how we made that happen during this series. So it's great that you talked about ban pick. I wanted to ask, especially for game 1, because it seemed like Boom Esports was, they banned away missions or Rihanna as well as Syndra. And there were a lot of mid lane bans. So it looked like they were specifically targeting mission over in the mid lane. And listening to the casters as well, they said that they're just talking about missions at champion pool as well. So I wanted to ask if you think that because of the way game 1's draft went, that was sort of the key as to why you guys lost in the first game. 那接下来的问题就是也是关于第一局，就关于 BP。想问的就是 Boom Esports 好像是针对了你们中路东山 ban 掉了球女还有辛德拉之后，就想问，就是你会不会感觉这个游戏是否会变得更难打吗？那个 BP 是你们输掉第一局的关键吗？
呃，如果 ban 掉东山的角色的话，因为我们其实已经都是预设好对面会 ban 哪些英雄，然后其实那个 ban 掉之后不会影响到，主要是我们的前期阵容需要打出优势嘛，结果被对面的后期阵容滚到优势，害我们变成就是2个边都很难玩，然后中线也在互推的话，对面3个核心就实在很厉害。
So I don't really think that that was the critical part of why we lost game number one. I think that what was more important was the fact that we had picked a early game composition, but we didn't actually get enough of a lead during the early game. So it turned into a game that was very hard, I think, for both sides as well. For example, in mid, both teams were just kind of protecting their mid lane and not really pushing out. So I think, especially for our team, we do in advance kind of predict what Boom Esports are going to ban, so we don't think that it was that critical. So the next question that I want to ask is that, of course, after winning today's game, the winner of today goes on to face PSG on Saturday, which I'm not really sure is the prize that people really want after winning a hard series. So what are your thoughts? Are you guys confident going into Saturday's games? 那接下来问题想问的就是，今天赢了之后，就下一场就是周六是要打 PSG 的那场嘛？然后想问一下，你们是否有自信呢？
自信吗？
是的。
肯定有自信的，但就是不好说。
So he said confidence. If it's confidence, then of course, yes, we definitely do have confidence. But as to the results or how we're going to do on Saturday, it's not the best or the easiest to talk about results. That's great. So, another thing that I wanted to ask was listening to the casters as well, especially in that game number two. I think it was JR over on the Chinese broadcast. He said that Rest looked like he didn't have to do much that game, and he was just letting his teammates carry him for game two, which he said was very good repayment because for most of the regular season, Rest was putting in a lot of work and kind of carrying your team to those victories. So I wanted to ask what your thoughts are on that. Are you grateful to Rest, or do you think like you guys deserve it because you guys put in the work today? 接下来问题想问的就是，直播台那边有说，尤其是第二局，好像是 JR 说的，就是 Rest 是糖分糖爽了，然后因为毕竟例行赛的时候，Rest carry 的几率有偏高，然后今天就终于轮到队友回馈他一下了。你对这有什么想法吗？
哦，主要他玩鳄鱼对线是坦克棋嘛，然后基本上我们对吧，中下是需要打野的，其实不太会理上路，上路就自己玩自己推线，然后预示者的时候发挥出作用就好了。最后他都做得很好。
So he said that for game number two, like Red's job was pretty much being a tank over in the top lane, and then when you pick that type of hero type of composition, you're kind of just saying you're going to let your mid laner as well as your bottom side carry, and that was what they did. He did give props to Rest and say that, after the mid game, Rest did pretty well. Great. So the last question that I want to ask you before we go is that for you, Hana, individually, the last time that you made it to Worlds was in, I believe it was 2019 in the round robin, and you came in 9th to 12th place in that year's Worlds. So what are your goals for this year and for this season? 那最后一个问题想问的就是，Hana，对你个人来说呢，就你上次打 S 联赛的时候好像是要9年，然后就想问的就是今年还有这今年的赛季来说，你个人的目标会是什么呢？
目标肯定是就是一样进世界赛嘛，对，然后进世界赛的时候能走越远越好。
So my goals for this year, of course, are to make it to Worlds once again. And once we're at Worlds, it's as far as my team can go. That is going to be as far as I want to get. So thank you so much for today's interview. 好了，那非常感谢 Hannah 接受今天的赛后采访，祝 Jt 季后赛加油！Thank you for the interview, casters. Back to you guys. 主播台回你们喽。